of a sudden the weight just started shedding like pound by pound. And I never felt stronger
Mm.
and healthy. And since I've, you know, been since I've been working with you. And it's funny, I'm almost approaching 40 and I probably bench more than I ever could bench before. So it's pretty good. Someone to like help me doing it. As a doctor, you think you know everything. And I do. I know how the metabolism works and the science works, but kind of implementing it is a little bit different.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to another amazing modern Muslim man interview. We got brother Mohammad Harrara, Mo Harrara, Dr. Mo Harrara here, busy father of three and surgeon. Lost 20 pounds in 3 months. Allahumma barak. No excuses with his schedule. No excuses with anything that he tried before. MashaAllah, Allahumma barak. He got amazing results. So, assalamu alaikum. Jazakallah khair for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Yes,
Very happy to
alhamdulillah.
be here. Yeah.
Alhamdulillah. Yes, sir.
Alhamdulillah.
Yes, sir. So I kind of want to take them through your journey, right? Because, I think your story is very similar to a lot of other doctors and surgeons who, maybe they don't have time for breakfast. They're skipping meals during the day. They might be eating a lot at night. They're struggling to find time. Maybe they've tried diets, detoxes, cutting carbs, doing a bunch of group classes, cardio, stuff like that, yet seeing zero results. So where were you? Because you were stuck in a bit of a plateau before we started, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've been, you know, being in the healthcare field, being a surgeon, I started gaining weight soon after I matched into residency and became residency, which is now about like back in 2015. Sorry, 2015. And since then, I've kind of been an upward trend with my weight gain. And it's very hard to actually find time, one, to go to the gym, and two, to actually try and be able to eat healthy meals. As a resident, you get like, stipends, you go to the cafeteria, you eat whatever you want, you're on call, you're rounding a lot, you late nights, and then at the same time, fast forward even to fellowship and whatnot, getting married, having kids, all that plays with it. But I have tried. I mean, I've done Orange Theory. I did that consistently for some time as I became more of a senior resident to try and lose weight, which was working out for me. I was getting the body fat down, but I think it was the dieting thing that was, I still, whether I still felt like I had the metabolism of a 20-year-old, but I was obviously approaching in my early 30s. And with that being said, despite me trying to lose some weight, would when I stopped that COVID happened. That's what it was. COVID happened, then you couldn't. Orange Theory closed, and then I was back in fellowship. And as soon as something happened, it's funny, like metabolism then skyrocketed. I think as a surgeon, despite us, being able to maintain your composure and you have a certain way with patients, you still do carry a lot of stress. Stress of the surgeries, stress of taking care of patients, and you don't realize it, but your cortisol levels are on a high, you know, high amounts. And so there are times when I don't eat anything at all. And I was doing like what we call free flap surgery or reconstructive surgery for a lot of head and neck cancer. That's what I specialize in. And you'd be in the operating room for like 8, 10 hours. And at the end of the surgery, you're then like, okay, now that the stress is gone, you're first in like fight or flight mode for like 10 hours or 8 hours or 4 hours. And you're like, oh, now I want to eat because things are, and then you eat and you eat the big meal and then you go to sleep and then do it again. And so you're constantly like, I think that's what happens. You're constantly just like storing mode, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And so, I was trying to find a way different and I stumbled upon your videos. Actually, I think I told you I was at first in New York and I was still a fellow. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. I think you're just, I wasn't sure how your program was, but I was like, I reached out and I was like, okay, this is something I probably want to do because I need kind of like a trainer. Because I need just someone to like help me doing it. As a doctor, you think you know everything, and I do. I know how the metabolism works and the science works, but kind of implementing it is a little bit different. And then it wasn't until then so yeah, then got my new job and I moved I'm in Sacramento, California, and now we have three kids, and I was just like, okay, now I think I like have time to go to the gym, but again, I started Orange Theory again, still not losing weight. I was like, okay, I really need to do something because let me reach out, and it's probably more than 20 pounds that I lost. I probably lost a little bit, 25 or even more. Definitely lost a lot of body fat. Because like one of your colleagues or thing was telling me, it's not even about the weight, it's almost about like how your clothes fit.
Mm.
And so I approached Munir again. I was like, hey, I really want to work with you again. I see your videos. And because you're a Muslim and I'm Muslim and I know that Ramadan is coming up, we kind of have similar goals. One is for spiritual and faith, but also in learning how to do things in a healthy, is quote with Islamic perspective and way. And so I figured I would team up with you. And I was very happy and excited. Yeah.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. Yeah, it's a super relatable story. I think even beyond like, other doctors and surgeons, I think all of us have seen how stress really wrecks the body. Like when you're trying to build your career, and then once you're actually in your career, it's still stressful. Let's say you just keep gaining weight, overeating, not having time to eat, but then your metabolism slows down even more. Your cortisol gets even higher. And before you know it, you wake up and you're like, dang, I'm like, a lot heavier than I was when I was younger. Plus, getting older, having kids, metabolism. So, alhamdulillah. And that's also another relatable point. Doctors always think they know everything, and they do know a lot, but the practical application of a lot of that academic theory can be the challenging part. And then even if you know what to do, it's like doing it consistently and with accountability. I think another thing that's like really counterintuitive that was really cool to implement with you was that when you first came in, you had something I call doctor syndrome, which is where you skip breakfast, sometimes skip lunch, don't eat all day. And then even if you try to restrict yourself at dinner time, your metabolism is so slow and your stress hormones are so high that even if you try to restrict yourself and eat nothing, you still don't lose weight. And then, of course, if you don't try to restrict yourself, you end up overeating. So this is the classic doctor syndrome.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think like one of the biggest things was like you said, accountability, and then also teaching me kind of like, and your dieting is, it's actually not a secret because some people ask me, well, I'm like, it's not really a special diet because, I remember a study in New England Journal of Medicine looked at like looking at all the different diets, Mediterranean diet, low carb diet, this kind of diet. And really what they all had in common, the ones that had the biggest fat loss was just calorie deficit, honestly.
Mm,
With what you kind of taught me is like you really need to get that protein in and you really need to get that low fat food in and just really stay away from you need to prepare up your own meals. And so when I did it consistently and I was eating lunch when I didn't want it, I mean eating breakfast when I normally don't, I think it was a little slow at first and all of a sudden the weight just started shedding like pound by pound. And I never felt stronger
mm.
and healthy. And since I've, been since I've been working with you. And it's funny, I'm almost approaching 40 and I probably bench more than I ever could bench before. So it's pretty good.
Mashallah, your strength's going up while you're losing weight instead of going down. Because when people do it the wrong way, they're not getting their protein. A lot of times they don't even get results because their metabolism's not fast enough. And if they do get results, they lose muscle. Versus for you, the scale has gone down from 220 to a low of 196 and then back up to 198 after Ramadan, but still 22 pounds. And on top of that, your strength has gone up, which shows that, like you said, you gained muscle, which means you lost more than just 20 pounds of fat or 22 pounds of fat. You lost more than that because you gained muscle. And the complex carbs and lean proteins and using low fat to create the deficit. That's a strategy a lot of people don't really know about. I mean, I didn't know about it. For the first 13 years lifting, I would just always sacrifice strength when I was cutting because I would go low carb because that was the only way I knew how to cut, right? But once you
Yeah.
kind of learn this stuff, it's also easier to make recipes. Like for instance, the grilled cheese sandwich recipe I gave you, the bechamel, all these
Oh
delicious
yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
tortilla. So,
exactly. I mean, that's the other thing is like how to like make very unique ways of making regular foods that you regularly eat healthy.
mm,
And and it was very good working with your team and which have to like kind of like always have answer questions when I needed to and even because you want to make this sustainable and even when I traveled different countries it was like okay work on this these are the good foods you should eat stay away from this and being consistent. It was actually interesting. Even when I did travel, I was consistently working out, and that's kind of what I push. You always, always be like, "Oh, why is there a gym at a hotel?" And it's like I'm not going to work out, but I literally did that when I went to Hawaii for a conference. I was working out when I was in Dubai in the morning, developing a routine, but it also made you feel better and more energetic that you had this that you're working out and had this energy, eating
mm.
healthy. So
Big
yeah,
time. Big time. And I think that's a great thing to focus on too. Like a lot of people, when you go through like periods where you're really busy and stressed with work and kids, it's easy to drop off on working out and eating healthy because at that point, weight loss isn't your priority. You're just trying to survive. But actually, what helps you to thrive in those environments is having more energy. As a byproduct, you lose more weight. And so, alhamdulillah, It's amazing to see. So, mashallah, well, we covered quite a few things. The story of building your career and then being in your career as a busy surgeon with all the different stressors and time constraints. We talked about the food, learning how to get in the right options for the right times that taste good and are convenient, like the convenient breakfast, lunch, whatever else. And then also like the proteins, complex carbs. I think one big thing beyond just like the energy side of things that I always feel motivates people and might motivate some of the other dads, doctors, or really busy professionals of any type who are watching this is how does this positively affect other areas of life? So, what are some differences you've seen in the other areas of life that are important to you, perhaps fatherhood, your deen, your work, that have improved as a result of this fitness journey and transformation?
I mean, that in multiple ways. I mean, the same way we implement fasting, and it creates builds, taqwa. It builds patience, and it's basically like you're abstaining from something that is halal to you during the daytime. Um, the same thing kind of goes on with working. It helps kind of train yourself because now you're training your body to be like, okay, I'm not going to eat this unhealthy food. I'm not going to eat this thing that I really like that may be halal to you, but not good for you in other ways. So that's definitely helps train your willpower a little bit to be
Mm,
even better and doing things. And so, again, keeping away from haram things in general, right? So that's the first thing. The other thing is makes you be a little bit, I do this, why I do this. I do this for my kids so I can be healthy for them, be there for them, be able to, as I get older, be able to interact with them and still be active with them. You know what I mean? Play sports, do other things with my children. So I think those are, when you think about it, if you anything can have the intention of doing it in terms of an Islamic way. And so that's my intention, be there for my kids. You can, turn that into Islamic perspective. Same with your wife, for my parents, right? I want to be able to be strong and healthy for them. Not really just, oh, I want to look good, lose the weight, but also make sure my heart and lungs are good. And I think with doing the building your endurance and building your stamina, it's you be a role model for your children, right? And you be a role model for other people too. And role model also in the hospital I work with because they look at you as, okay, this guy's name is Mohammed, and he is taking care of his health. He's disciplined. He's, doing things like that. And they, see, the funny thing is there's a concept too where a lot of patients will be like, oh, I went to see my cardiologist and he's super overweight, right? And I'm like, of course, it's like the concept that your doctor is an overweight doctor and he's giving you advice. It doesn't go much far, right? So just being there for my patients to be like, okay, this guy's name is Mohammad Harrara. Clearly, you're carrying the image of Islam, because your name. And then two, you want to look presentable, like this is a healthy, you know, conscious individual who's taking care of his health. You know what I mean? Not an overweight, obese individual. And I was feeling like I was heading towards that trajectory, so I wanted to stop that.
Oh, absolutely. Wow, mashallah. That's such a great point. We didn't even talk about that yet. SubhanAllah, like there's 200,000 doctors in the US and 10% of them are Muslim. I read the statistic maybe a couple years ago. So 20,000 Muslim doctors in the US. But the problem is obesity rates are through the roof, and we in our Muslim cultures, whether Arab, whether Pakistani, whether a combination, tend to have higher rates of obesity. So
Yeah.
we can't settle for that, right? Especially as a doctor, especially as a father, especially as a role model and somebody representing Islam. And I think actually, I remember because you actually first like followed me and messaged me back in like 2022, and I think it was from that video where I was talking about like doctor struggles of getting in shape. I remember you had followed me and you had messaged me, and I had posted that video. I think I seen you liked it too. And subhanallah, it's I mean it's definitely not easy, right? You have to have discipline, right?
Yeah.
Like I recently posted something that said being fit at 20 can mean lots of things, but being fit at 40 can only mean one thing, discipline. And so, subhanAllah, we have so much motivation to do it. It's just a matter of getting the right strategy, taking action, doing it, and, representing that picture of health that your family deserves, that your patients deserve, everybody else, subhanAllah.
Yeah. Definitely.
So,
Absolutely.
mashallah. So, last two questions for anybody who's on the fence about potentially doing the program. Maybe they're a doctor, maybe they're not, but there may be somebody, I think, above all that, who's dealt with a lot of the same things you have: stress, time constraints. They've tried a lot of other things that haven't worked. What would you say to somebody who's on the fence about doing our program? Maybe they don't know if it's going to work for them or if they can trust us. What would you say to that person on the fence to get them to actually commit, inshallah?
I think if you are someone who, you know, I think if you're on the fence, then you should probably just go ahead and do it because there's a reason you're on the fence. You're thinking about it, you're trying to do it, and if things are not working out for you, in terms of what you've previously tried before, I think just having, you know, tweaks to your